Support comes from the Wiregrass Archives at Troy University's Dothan campus, identifying and preserving historical documents and photographs for research related to the Wiregrass region. More information at troy.edu/wiregrassarchives.
From Troy Public Radio, this is the Newswrap from In Focus, and I'm Carolyn Hutchison. Todd Stacy, host of Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal, discusses the confusion over Alabama's election map as it makes its way to the Supreme Court. And the Wildcard has a thief caught in the act. Todd, welcome back to the Newswrap.
Good to be with you.
What is the big topic right now?
Well, once again, we're talking about redistricting and the congressional map because there's once again been another ruling, this time the Northern District of Alabama. Remember, the Supreme Court overturned one of their rulings and sent it back to the lower court to say, okay, y'all revisit this case and decide whether or not Alabama can proceed with the maps the legislature drew versus the maps that the court drew. The legislature passed maps that would give Republicans essentially one more congressional seat. So the court ruled this week that no, the state was in the wrong based on the Louisiana decision, the new jurisprudence from the court, that the state used race to draw the maps and therefore they're unconstitutional. Well, unsurprisingly, that ruling has been appealed to the Supreme Court. So we are yet again at the Supreme Court waiting to see what those justices will allow. They could agree with Alabama and let the legislatively drawn map go forward, as the legislature has asked, and the governor and Republicans, or they could side with the lower court. And that would really change things because we would go back to a map that the courts mandated. That really throws the election into a bit of chaos. So we're in a pretty chaotic situation right now, once again waiting on the Supreme Court.
And Todd, haven't there been some demonstrations over this issue?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you had a couple thousand people gather in Montgomery at the Capitol steps. There were actually protests all around the South, but Montgomery was a big one. For a lot of congressmen and people from Washington, D.C. coming down to say that what Alabama and other states are doing is essentially diluting black representation in Congress. And so, interestingly, it's had an opposite effect in terms of all this work from Republicans to change the maps has actually increased Democratic turnout. Democrats are more fired up and more engaged politically because of what's going on. So it's been a bit of a backfire so far.
Well, in that case, we need a wild card.
Yeah, happy to lighten up. This story comes from Canada, Alberta, where police were investigating this theft of certain barbecue goods, namely hot dogs. Somebody had been stealing hot dogs, and they looked around and they caught the suspect red-handed, and that is, it was a fox. It was this red fox with a mouthful of hot dogs. There's an Instagram picture. It's hilarious. He's got 5 or 6 hot dogs in his mouth. So they caught him, but I don't think they're going to try to get those hot dogs back.
A thief caught in the act.
Yeah, pretty great.
Todd, who is on Capitol Journal tonight at 7:30, Sunday at noon, and YouTube?
We're going to be talking with Attorney General Steve Marshall. He's the one appealing these decisions to the Supreme Court. So we're going to be talking all about the state's argument. Also going to be talking with Congressman Shamari Figures. It's his district that would really be impacted one way or the other, how the court rules. Going to get his perspective as a congressman, but also as a former civil rights lawyer. Also going to be visiting with the governor and lieutenant governor from Boys State, the Boys State annual gathering of high school juniors in Montgomery today. Interest and engagement in the political system. Look forward to that.
Well, Todd, I want to thank you today for the news wrap.
You bet.
That was Todd Stacy, host of Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. More information about Capitol Journal can be found at the website aptv.org. Thanks for joining us today for the News Wrap from In Focus, which is also a podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Carolyn Hutchison, and this is listener-supported Troy Public Radio.